As the U.S. presidential race between Donald Trump and Democratic nominee Kamala Harris comes to an end with Trump as the victor and the Senate in hand, whispers of a potential shift in healthcare policy are causing unease in the biopharma industry. Trump's recent alignment with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a prominent critic of both the FDA and the pharmaceutical industry, is sparking concerns about what an RFK Jr. influenced FDA might look like should Trump return to the White House. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., once a fringe figure in the political landscape, has defied expectations, gaining traction with his views on health and wellness.
The key that I think that President Trump has promised me is control of the public health agencies, which are HHS and its sub-agencies, CDC, FDA, NIH, and a few others, and then also the USDA, which is key to making America healthy, because we've got to get off of seed oils, and we've got to get off of pesticide-intensive agriculture, and we need to make that transition to regenerative agriculture.
Trump's endorsement of RFK Jr. as a thought leader on FDA and healthcare policy came sharply into focus during a recent campaign rally at Madison Square Garden. "I'm going to let him go wild on health, on the food, on the medicines," Trump proclaimed. While an official cabinet role for Kennedy might face confirmation challenges, he has already begun advising Trump's team on sweeping changes to the FDA, setting the stage for potential transformation of the U.S. health regulatory environment. Kennedy's proposals include a rollback of FDA regulations on alternative therapies, as highlighted in a recent social media post. Among his targets, FDA restrictions on psychedelics, peptides, stem cells, and even alternative treatments like hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. RFK Jr. has characterized the FDA's current stance as a war on public health, pledging an overhaul that would open up access to treatments he claims promote wellness but lack the typical pharmaceutical backing. He has gone so far as to issue a warning to FDA staff, advising them to preserve your records and pack your bags. Kennedy's rhetoric has reverberated throughout the pharmaceutical industry, a sector that relies heavily on the FDA's established regulatory frameworks to guide the approval, safety, and efficacy of new drugs. Industry leaders fear that RFK Jr.'s influence could severely disrupt these processes, threatening to dismantle safeguards that have bolstered the FDA's reputation as a global gold standard for drug review and patient protection. A major concern centers on vaccine confidence. Former Surgeon General Jerome Adams warned that Kennedy's influence could exacerbate vaccine hesitancy, which might undermine not only public health, but also economic stability and national security. If RFK has a significant influence on the next administration, that could further erode people's willingness to get up to date with recommended vaccines, Adams said, noting the potential long-term impacts on the country's health infrastructure. Kennedy's platform promotes a wellness approach, emphasizing non-traditional treatments like hyperbaric therapies, nutraceuticals, and natural health remedies, areas not typically within the FDA's primary focus. His critiques of the FDA suggest that he sees the agency as too deeply embedded with the pharmaceutical industry. During a recent interview with Dr. Phil McGraw, Kennedy stated that the FDA's main objective has shifted to supporting the mercantile interests of big pharma, rather than safeguarding public health. Despite the controversy, some former Trump health officials see a modicum of merit in Kennedy's wellness-oriented philosophy, acknowledging the potential benefit of promoting preventative care and non-patentable health approaches. But these officials also express hope that mainstream voices within a Trump administration could temper Kennedy's more radical inclinations. As one official put it, guardrails might be necessary to ensure the agency doesn't stray too far from its mission to protect the public. Even if Kennedy's ideas gain traction within a Trump administration, they would face significant legal and legislative hurdles. Structural reforms like cutting FDA funding or headcount would require congressional approval. Additionally, the industry's fee-based funding agreement with the FDA, a critical component of the agency's resources, remains in effect until 2027, giving some stakeholders hope that the fundamental structure of the FDA would withstand any abrupt changes. Yet legal safeguards may offer limited recourse. Holly Fernandez Lynch, a bioethicist at the University of Pennsylvania, warned that court intervention to block an RFK Jr. influenced FDA might not be reliable, given the current judiciary's stance on regulatory autonomy. FDA leadership cannot wholesale abandon the agency's public health mission, Lynch stated, expressing doubt that Congress could or would step in, especially if Trump's allies maintain legislative power. The Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America, PHRMA, which represents major U.S. drug makers, issued a statement reaffirming the FDA's importance. It emphasized that the agency's oversight is foundational to the U.S. leadership in pharmaceutical innovation and critical to providing confidence for patients and healthcare providers alike. The FDA is the gold standard in evaluating the safety, efficacy, and quality of medicines prior to and following approval, HRMA said, suggesting that undermining this authority could have cascading effects on both the industry and public trust. As Trump's candidacy gains momentum, biopharma and biotech leaders find themselves confronting an uncertain future. While Kennedy's ideas resonate with a subset of wellness advocates and skeptics of big pharma, they pose a significant challenge to the industry's traditional regulatory framework. The potential for an RFK Jr. influenced FDA brings into question the stability and direction of U.S. healthcare policy, especially as the agency navigates a landscape marked by complex public health needs and rapidly advancing medical technology. For now, the prospect of a radically transformed FDA remains speculative. But as Trump's campaign progresses, the biotech industry is bracing for the possibility of a significant shift, one that could redefine the contours of public health in America. Given the potential for an RFK Jr. influenced FDA under a Trump administration, it's a prudent time for biotech investors to consider proactive strategies to minimize exposure to heightened regulatory risks. What I am about to say are my personal opinion and not financial advice. Here are some key areas of concern and actionable strategies. Biotech companies with a heavy reliance on vaccines could face headwinds if RFK Jr.'s well-known vaccine skepticism shapes FDA policy or public discourse. Any FDA shift away from vaccine promotion or increased public hesitancy due to policy changes could lead to reduced revenue forecasts for these companies. A good strategy could be to diversify holdings by looking beyond companies with significant vaccine portfolios. If you're heavily invested in vaccine-reliant companies, consider rebalancing your portfolio to reduce this exposure. Options might include adding biotech firms that focus on non-vaccine products, such as gene therapies, diagnostics, or other innovative treatments. I think that the gene therapy sector, which includes companies with products in various stages of FDA review, may encounter added volatility under an RFK Jr. influenced FDA. Kennedy has voiced skepticism of various mainstream medical treatments, and any policy changes could potentially delay approvals or impose additional scrutiny. A strategy in this regard would be to review investment horizons and risk tolerance for gene therapy stocks, particularly those still in early-stage trials. Shifting focus toward companies with already approved products or diversified pipelines could reduce risk exposure, while reallocating some assets into later-stage companies with established revenue streams may offer more stability in uncertain times. This is where CRISPR therapeutics becomes attractive. Hospitals and healthcare service providers may also be indirectly affected. If FDA guidelines and public health recommendations shift, leading to reduced vaccine uptake or alternative therapy promotion, the healthcare sector could experience new challenges in terms of patient volume, treatment protocols, and reimbursement structures. A good strategy for this could be to reassess positions in healthcare stocks, particularly those that rely heavily on current FDA-regulated treatments. Diversifying into sectors or stocks that are less sensitive to FDA policy, like health tech, medical devices, or outpatient services, could provide a hedge against potential disruption. Even before any concrete policy changes, market sentiment around a potential RFK Jr. influenced FDA could drive volatility. Companies across the board in biotech, from small-cap innovators to large established firms, might see fluctuations based on investor reactions to news, regulatory decisions, or policy signals. One needs to stay agile and informed by monitoring news on FDA leadership, policy announcements, and the administration's approach to biotech regulation. Consider adding stop-loss orders or rebalancing into defensive sectors to protect against sudden price drops. Keeping some liquidity in your portfolio may allow you to capitalize on undervalued stocks that become attractive buys during market corrections. In the short to medium term, a significant shift in FDA priorities could favor companies that focus on alternative therapies, nutraceuticals, or preventive wellness. Conversely, companies highly dependent on FDA-driven pathways, e.g. oncology or gene therapy pipelines, may need more time or face delays in reaching profitability. A good strategy, especially for biotech investors, would be to diversify beyond FDA-dependent stocks by allocating a portion of your portfolio to sectors or industries that are less directly impacted by regulatory shifts, such as medical technology, AI-driven diagnostics, or consumer health and wellness products. Looking at international companies with revenue outside of U.S. markets might also add stability against potential FDA-related volatility. While the next few months may not reveal immediate regulatory changes, anticipating a potential pivot in the FDA's stance under an RFK Jr. influenced administration is wise. Proactively repositioning to avoid overexposure in high-risk segments like vaccines, gene therapies, and certain healthcare providers can help safeguard your investments. Staying flexible and diversified is likely to be key in navigating this uncertain landscape. Please let me know what you think of my analysis. I look forward to your thoughts in the comments section. Please do not forget to help the channel by liking this video and subscribing to our channel.